Greetings, friends. How are we today? Now, one of the major aspects of this path, the left-hand path, unlike the right-hand path, is we do not negate the real. We utilize it, whatever reality is, to achieve that divine state. Even though I've asked the question, what is real? And I've stated more than once that everything is filtered through the mind, I still acknowledge that my existence survives somewhere. It could be a dream, it could be a simulation. But if this is a simulation, we play the game to win on our own terms. And what is that divine state we're searching for? Some call it self-deification, or as I like to call it, sinister illumination. In truth, it's Jungian individuation achieved through selfish means, if you will. The definition of the word selfishness is the concern with one's own interests. And you have to be worth a damn to yourself first before you can be worth a damn to anyone else. It all starts with you. But our form of enlightenment is not where one gets lost in that great cosmic collective. For example, we do not feel that oneness with the all when partaking in, well, certain mind-altering substances. I've never felt that oneness. I've retained my individuality. We retain our individuality, always. And when we're a member of a group or an organization, it's not a herd or a flock we've joined. It's a pack. But that right-hand path spirit of metaphysical collectivism has not only permeated the esoteric arts, but also the general populace as well. For the negation of the real is the rule instead of the exception. As I've mentioned in more than one video, there is a theory that a metaphysical philosophy or a tradition was spread across the Eurasian landmass roughly around the beginning of the Bronze Age. Traces of this can be seen in Hinduism, Druidism of the ancient Celts, and many other Indo-European traditions, including Hermeticism. There's no precise definition of Hermeticism. The truth is, depending on what area or time period we're talking about, this term could have different meanings. What we do know, though, is Hermeticism undoubtedly originated in ancient Egypt during the Ptolemaic dynasty. There, in the city of Alexandria, Pythagorean and Platonic Greek philosophers became acquainted with Egyptian doctrines. And this fusion of Greek and Egyptian traditions found its anthropomorphized identity in the guise of Hermes Trismegistus, a syncretism of Hermes, the messenger of the Greek gods, and the Egyptian moon god Thoth. Within comparative mythology, Hermes and Thoth were considered to be one and the same. Both of them were psychopomps, one who could not only accompany the dead to the otherworldly domains, but were also the guides between different states of consciousness. For more on this topic, see my video, The God of Magic. The basics of Hermeticism portray our physical reaction with the material world as being antagonistic to the soul. Thus, Hermes Trismegistus is said to have authored the Emerald Tablet in the Corpus Hermeticum. Truth is that it's said that a vast literature in Greek can be ascribed to him. The cited number of works range from 20,000 to 36,000. With the Emerald Tablet, though, the goal is to transform those who can decipher its meaning into a higher level of human or human consciousness. This philosophy, with its notion that the universe operated based on orderly principles, in this case represented as cosmic vibrations in the substance of the all, was instrumental to Western occultism. Thus, a strong Hermetic tradition persisted up into the Middle Ages and even received widespread currency in the Renaissance. Both philosophical and magical Hermeticism declined rapidly in the 17th century, though, but retained its relevance amongst secret societies and occult groups. Now, one Hermetic maxim states, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. This principle states that the universe is basically a mental projection, thus one can use their thoughts to shape reality. You see, for anything to be, a thought must precede it. So by ways of this principle, it's believed that God is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God. Thus, by utilizing this law, we can harness the power of our minds to create the life we want. With this goal of allowing the soul to escape from the material realm to obtain oneness with God, Hermeticism is related to the wider intellectual current known as Gnosticism. The origins of Gnosticism are unclear, but we do know this philosophical movement flourished in the 1st and 2nd century CE. But even though the origins of the school of thought cannot be traced, it is possible to locate influences or sources as far back as the 2nd century BCE into the Jewish apocalyptic writings, Platonic philosophy, and the Corpus Hermeticum. Even though Gnostic sects were diverse, certain fundamental attributes bound these groups together. The main ones being the idea of anti-cosmic world rejection, that human beings contained a divine spark within themselves which had fallen from the immaterial world into physical bodies. And the material world in which they had fallen was created by the demiurge, who is pretty much identical to the Old Testament Yahweh. Since all physical matter will decay, rot, and or die, these bodies in the material world created by that inferior being were therefore evil. Trapped in the material world but ignorant of its status, these divine sparks or pieces of God required knowledge or gnosis to inform them of their true status. This knowledge must come from outside the material world, and the one who brings it is the Savior or Redeemer. Gnostics agree that the fall didn't occur through Adam and Eve. It happened before the world's creation through a mistake made by a heavenly being called Sophia, whose name is Greek for wisdom. And that as long as spirits are trapped in physical bodies and the material world, they will be subject to sin, which is caused by ignorance of their true nature and true home. Gnosticism commonly held that salvation is to escape from the bondage of the material existence and travel back to the home from where souls have fallen. Since they perceive themselves shackled to material bodies and tempted by the physical realm, what did they propose to do about this? How would Gnostic salvation actually work? There are two answers. To put them simply, the first is that a powerful being from heaven would show up at some point in history and dispel all the illusions of material existence. The second is that Gnostics, through various rituals, writings, and contemplations, could, by themselves and with their devout comrades, enlighten and awaken themselves. In a sense, this is the destruction of the individual in order to return to the whole. Now, even though the two preceding philosophical outlooks may appear to be on par with the left-hand path, in truth, they couldn't be more antithetical. Example, even though there is a form of Christian Gnosticism which would be considered heterodox, it doesn't make it left-hand path. Now, there is a kind of sinister gnosis, though, but unlike that proposed by the Gnostics, this doesn't originate from on high, but instead bubbles up from the abysmal depths of the primordial chaos. This is ancient knowledge found within the genetic makeup of the individual. This is the primal logos, that which cannot be taught, but instead experienced. Now, if you don't already know, the word sinister, as in Sinisterism, derives from the Latin word sinistra, meaning left. And left, in regards to religion, the spiritual, or the esoteric, has no connection to leftist politics. In many ways, it's the antithesis of the political far left, because they denounce individuality, wishing instead to become lost in a great collective, the whole being far more important than its individual parts. This is interesting, but Hegel, in his philosophy, is said to have been greatly influenced by Hermeticism, and Karl Marx was a young Hegelian. But this doesn't mean that those who have leftist leanings can't be sinisterists. Because I do believe if it weren't for liberalism, I wouldn't be able to sit here and voice my opinion, for the freedom to partake in unorthodox speech is a liberal value. Getting back to my point, the term left-hand path originated in Hinduism. It means the reversal of the natural right-hand flow of energy, while the political left comes from on which side of the assembly hall you sat in around the time of the French Revolution. Now, a paradoxical aspect of Sinisterism is it transcends the real, not real debate. As I've stated many times in the past, this philosophy goes deeper than the atheist-theist argument, because that discourse survives here on the surface, and only on the surface, in this reality, whatever it is. This may seem contradictory to my statements such as, we do not negate the real. But if this is a dream, we on this path are lucid dreamers. We don't blindly go with the flow of the dream's narrative. We stake out our claim in that which is called reality. Arguing over the legitimacy of the gods and monsters, angels and demons, though, is comparable to starving people arguing over whether what they're eating tastes good or not. The important thing is whether that food has any nutritional value. It's what you get out of this practice that's important. Does it feed your psyche and nourish your soul? The essence of Sinisterism is that one can utilize any vehicle on the path, that is any left-hand path practice that works for them. This could be a combination of Satanism, Luciferianism, or even Eastern practices. The important thing is that you are looking to glean that pure gem of truth the individual needs on their quest toward sinister illumination. A truth that may differ from each person because no one else can go where you're going. It's a personal journey, not toward oneness with a great cosmic collective, but instead into the abysmal depths of your individual psyche. So, in conclusion, delve into what this reality has to offer. Utilize the carnal aspects, indulge in the 7 deadly sins, and find the truth, the deep, dark truth that's not waiting to be revealed after death, but that which can be found here, on this physical plane, now. Until next time.